Our guest today says it was only a few years ago that she was fully immersed in a toxic form of feminism that did not make her happy. As a successful mechanical engineer and entrepreneur, Rebecca Barrett had rejected all of the traditional ideals of womanhood, including marriage and being a mother. But today, she values family above everything else, and she'll talk to us about her amazing transformation and journey. That's coming up next. Welcome to the Moms for America podcast. Each week, special guests tackle the issues facing the moms of America today. Discussions include personal stories and advice on how moms can build a strong foundation of faith, family, and freedom in their homes and country. Hi, moms. I'm Debbie Carlitis, your host, and thank you for joining us once again here on the Moms for America podcast. All right here on the top of the show, I always want to remind everyone to like and subscribe to our podcast. We also ask that you share this podcast with your mama friends. This is going to be an incredible show again, so please share this with your moms. Also, right here on the top of the show, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. I always want to invite all the moms here to join us at Moms for America. We are moms uniting all across our country to fight for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution. So please, moms, check us out at momsforamerica.us. Join our tribe. We would love to have you there. All righty, on to today's program. Rebecca Barrett began her career as a mechanical engineer and an entrepreneur. Her mantra was that she was never going to get married, never have a family, and never rely on a man. Now she has had a complete change of heart from a toxic feminist to a wife, a homemaker, and a mother. She keeps it real on her popular YouTube channel, advising young women on the dangers of this radical feminism. Well, welcome, Rebecca, to the Moms for America podcast. I am so excited to have this conversation with you.
Me too. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm excited to deep dive into this topic, into what we're going to get into today.
All right. Well, before we start hitting this topic, can you tell me a little bit about your family, your little nest over there, and what your family looks like?
Yeah. So I'm married, and I've been with my husband going on 5 years. We've been married 3 of those years, or going on 3 years. And we have a beautiful baby girl. Her name is River Rain, and she just turned 1 year old. And I feel like my life has completely this year has been so quick. And now I'm having baby fever again. So
yeah, watch out, husband, because when the baby fever comes, it's like baby, baby, baby. Oh, so
yes.
Cute. And I love her name.
Yes. Oh, I love her. River. So she was actually born in water. Like we did the whole
home birth.
Yeah, the whole natural birth. And we love the name River. Every single event in our lives, like our wedding day, our engagement, the day we found out that we were pregnant, everything was raining. Like there was so much rain and water. So we were like, this is the most appropriate name, River Rain. So
love that. Yeah. Well, congratulations. There's nothing like it.
Thank you.
That's why this conversation is going to be so interesting, because you really came from a background where looking at a family, a husband, babies, career on hold or on pause. Yes. I always say just on pause, because we're always in our careers, whatever that is.
Yeah.
This really wasn't the road that you had ventured out on. So in your 20s, you were basically not interested in family or babies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I never thought I was going to have kids. I always told myself I didn't want kids or a husband, just so that I could cope with the possible reality of not having that be my outcome in life. Mm-hmm. And I told everyone else too, I actually met up with one of my best friends from childhood yesterday, and she says, it's so crazy seeing you with a baby and that you're a mom because you've literally convinced everyone your entire life that that was not your path.
Wow.
So, yes, I was convincing people, but inside, I knew I wanted kids. I knew I wanted to be a wife. I just was very hurt and
Yeah.
angry. And yeah, it took a long time to just shed away those fears.
Well, I want to talk about that, but I also
Mhm.
want to just backtrack a bit here.
Okay.
Your own family life, right? You were raised with a mom and a dad. I mean, you were
Yes.
raised in the structure of a family.
Hmm.
I know that your mom was very dependent on your dad. Was
Yes.
that a good or a bad, or was that something that did not resonate with you? Or what was the beginnings of this, I guess? Did it happen
Yeah.
when you were young? Because I know you loved your dad, you loved your mom, you had a beautiful
Hmm.
family.
Yeah. So I'm first generation American. Both my parents immigrated here from Brazil. So I grew up in a very traditional home life. My dad worked full time. He provided for my family, and my mom stayed at home and managed the household, took care of the kids, all of that good stuff. Um, However, their relationship was very codependent, and they essentially like needed each other to survive in life. And it it was, I would say, it was healthy because I saw both of my parents together, but there was also infidelity involved in my story. And
Mm,
growing up and seeing that, and as a young child, and the oldest living at home, I it impacted me a lot more because I was seeing my mom, cry over these
yeah. How
situations,
hurt, right?
and how hurt she was. And I said, I will be the provider. I will take care of you because I know, and I knew at the time that, her English wasn't that well. And
Mhm.
she just didn't have the capability of leaving if that's what she wanted to do. And so I think both of them felt stuck.
Mm,
But I will say, my dad passed away in January 2021, and
mm.
they were by each other's side till the end. So they stuck it out and
Wow.
worked on their marriage and worked on their relationship. And I'm so grateful for that
Right.
because they could have easily tossed in the towel and said, let's move on with our lives. And I'm just grateful to
Yeah.
know that they were together till the end. So
Yeah. And they did love each other, obviously.
yes, they
Yeah.
loved each other so much.
Ah, sorry to hear that your dad's gone.
It's
Um,
okay.
so when you look at your past here,
Mhm.
some of these things that you just mentioned, uh, made you kind of go in a different direction. You were
Yes.
not going to run into the homemaker. You were not looking to get married. You were not looking for children. You actually chose a pretty tough field, a male
Yes.
dominated field, a male dominated industry. And you kind of actually said that you kind of had a male energy was kind of growing within you. Let's
Yeah.
just chat about that really quick.
Yeah. So, as a young kid, I was seeing that if I depended on a man, if I put my entire trust and energy into having a husband, this was going to be my expected outcome. Like that's in my, adolescent brain, that's what I thought
Hmm.
marriage would look like, for everyone. And so I thought to myself, I need to be independent. I need to make my own money. I need to forge my own path. And I did just that. I was, like I said, the oldest out of my family, my mom and dad's relationship. And so I was the tomboy. I like to tinker with, you know, cars and things. My dad sold private jets and was a race car driver and did a lot of
Oh,
things with like his hands. And he showed me very young how to work with engines and stuff
right.
like
You know
that.
how to
So
change your own oil, I'm
I
sure.
know how to do a lot of things. I'm the electrician in our home.
Oh boy.
Uh, So, yeah, I decided to do mechanical engineering
Wow.
into college. And even in high school, I was the captain of my robotics team. So I was very
Ah,
nerdy. I loved working with my hands, tinkering. And so engineering was the path I wanted to take.
sure.
And my dad and my parents, being first generation American, myself, that's a lot of the dream that a
The
lot of
American dream. Yeah.
immigrants have, right?
Right.
Have my kids become a doctor, engineer, something that is predictable,
Uh-huh.
can make you a lot of money. And so I did just that. And I'm grateful that I have my mechanical engineering degree. I'm grateful that I have the experience under my belt.
Yeah.
But it made me a hard person. It made me think in this mindset of this is a man's world. I have to operate like a
Mm-hmm.
man to be
Mm-hmm.
in this world. And all of that feminine, all of that,
Mm.
you know, I was always a smiley, giggly person. And just growing up, I had a chip on my shoulder. I had to be hard. I have to be the
Mm.
strong woman. And
Okay.
that's what I thought was like the pinnacle of like strong, independent woman.
Mm-hmm. So kind of
And I
becoming
did
one of the
that.
boys.
Yeah.
Male
Yeah.
dominated industry, you're working on oil rigs. So, I mean, yeah. So you really have to be tough to probably thrive in that type
Yes.
of atmosphere, right?
Hmm.
You talked about kind of having a mask,
Hmm.
and being someone, I think you just alluded to the fact too, but you really were bringing a persona of someone almost like an alter ego a bit.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy because I think too, I was the generation that grew up in front of the television,
Hmm.
just watching TV and movies and that very like heavy into pop culture. And so
Hmm.
I would see Superwoman and like all of these characters that was this strong female lead. And I felt like I had to embody that, right? And so Rebecca was broken. Rebecca was, didn't trust anyone, had to build up walls. But this other person, person that I became, Becca, right? Becca was this, tough. I took it on the chin. I had a chip on my
Mm.
shoulder. I was one of the boys. I could handle it. You
Hmm.
couldn't offend me. Um, and over time, I saw that facade go away and it
Hmm.
become much harder to maintain over time.
Hmm.
And it got exhausting. And I just felt like I was constantly performing for everyone else. And then
Right.
I would come home and just like take off my mask
Right.
and have to live with Rebecca, had to live with no prospects, no love life, no one checking for me,
Right.
So it was hard.
Right. Trying to focus on a successful career, focus
Yes.
on being something in this world, but yet
Mhm.
coming home to an empty life, I guess,
Yes.
basically, because you weren't happy.
I, I told people I was happy. I pretended I was
Right.
happy. And that's the thing is, I had a social life. I went out. I would have friends, but they were just there. And I remember I coped a lot with drinking. I coped a lot with, you know, alcohol and dabbled here and there with like medications and stuff like that. So it
Sure.
was just what I did to kind of feel normal
Well,
in a way.
Rebecca, when you're saying that, it just reminds me of the fact, and we all run into certain phases like this where we're fighting
Mm-hmm.
against our gifts, we're fighting
Mm-hmm.
against our talents, we're fighting against a part in us, for
Yes.
whatever reason, suppressing it,
Mm-hmm.
denying it. And being a woman, you are a
Yeah.
nurturer, being a woman.
Yes.
And again, I'm not saying that everybody has to have children, has to get
No.
married. That's not the point of this discussion. The
Mm-hmm.
point of this discussion is that the world comes in with the ideology of feminism that unless you're just finding your career, that
Yes.
is how you'll find hope and joy and love. And that everything else is basically bondage. So I kind of want to go a little bit fast forward now. You
Yeah.
go to New York, you become an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you
Mhm.
become involved with a new group, and feminism is probably something you didn't know that you were adopting. But now, when you get to New York, all of a sudden you are you call yourself a raging feminist. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes. I was fully indoctrinated when I moved to New York. I was a part of every female group, the breakfasts and the conferences and you name it, I was a part of it. And especially with like female founders, we liked to stick together. That was a thing. And the narrative was always, oh, you are fighting for your seat at the table.
Hmm.
We would read all these books and, it was just like I would go to marches, I
Mm,
would mentor younger women that were coming up or were transitioning from being like corporate to wanting to start their own entrepreneurial ventures. But it was always the narrative was always blame men for your problems. Like, we don't have enough
mm.
funding, we don't have enough this, we don't have
We're
enough
not being
that.
respected. We're right.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that was really what, like, when you took away the beautiful, like the beautiful events that were thrown and all of the aesthetics, that was at the root of a lot of these events that you would go to, or a lot of these conferences or meetups, or,
Okay.
you know, and once that starts being repeated over and over and over in your brain, you start to think, yeah, I am a victim. Yeah, it is the patriarchy's fault. Yeah, it is the white man's fault. Yeah, it is because I'm a, Latina woman that is struggling to get funding. And it's not. Like, the
Right.
market doesn't care and business doesn't care what
Right.
color, age, demographic background you come from. The market cares about making money.
Mhm. And,
So,
and I've heard you say this in some of your podcasts on YouTube there, your videos. You said even now, how do we even think that women don't have a seat at the table? Women have a world of opportunity. So we
yes.
keep screaming that we don't have the opportunities, but women are they're doing very they're doing very successful. So
Yes.
it's kind of a crazy situation of saying you can't, but you are, you're a victim, you're the oppressed,
Hmm.
all this stuff. What are these lies that you would kind of say? You talk about four lies, and then I want to get into your transformation. But what were
Yes.
some of the lies that you were adopting?
Yeah. So I made a video on this, and I break down the four lies of feminism. There are more, but these are the
The top.
overarching, yeah, the top.
Okay.
The first one is, I don't need a man, I want a man. So basically saying that, oh, I can survive, I can thrive, I can be the best version of myself, and I don't need anyone there. I don't need a man by my side. I can do this all by myself.
Okay.
Um, and that's crazy to me, because we're just seeing the decline of birth rates and we're finally starting to address it in society.
Mhm.
And it's I won't get into that right now, but it just doesn't look good for our population, our
Right.
civilization.
Right.
And then the second lie, well, I'm not going in order, but
Okay.
another lie that I hear is career success is the pinnacle success that a
Right.
woman should strive for. It's the greatest purpose in her life. It's the only thing she should be really aspiring for.
Mm.
And if you're a young woman listening, you're thinking, I got to go to college. I got to get my career down. I got to do all these things, right? But we forget that,
Mm.
you know, yes, you get to that point, you climb all these corporate ladders, you get to a point where you're very successful in your career. And then what happens after, like, what happens 30 years later? You know, are you
Right.
still the top person in your company? No, you're 50, 60,
Right.
tired,
You're
overworked.
trying to claw and scratch your way, and you're being replaced.
Yes.
Competitive industries kind of just,
Yes.
walk all over you. And that has nothing to do with you being a woman. That's
Yeah.
just the world.
Turnover.
Right.
Yeah. That's just how it is.
Right.
And so to say that, yeah, like if you're young right now, that's exciting, that's
Mhm.
exhilarating, that's what we want to chase. But then we disregard my biology. You
Right.
know, our eggs diminish over time. You don't create new eggs, right?
Right.
So you get to your late 30s and there's no man, there's no prospects of a man,
Right.
and now women are freezing their eggs. They're waiting till
So long.
later
Right.
to have children, and the IVF rates are just also abysmal. If you talk and if you like listen and watch the data, it doesn't look good for women later on to have children. It's much harder.
Right.
So
Then you
that's,
become a single parent, and then you
yes.
don't have a family unit. You don't have a husband. You
Yes.
don't have a
Hmm.
you don't have that. I don't even know how you do it without having a husband, but
Yeah.
kudos to the
it's
single moms that are doing it. But it's a tough it's a tough road. But
it's a
moms are doing
tough
it all
road.
across the country.
Oh
But this here
yes.
now, when you say career is the success, then actually right on the heels of that is that marriage and children are just bondage, right? They're just heavy.
Correct.
They're dead weight.
Yeah, it's like you know, if you're trying to strive for this amazing career, then having those
Mm,
people on the bandwagon is only going to slow you down, right? They talk about the data of women leaving the workforce to be the
mm,
primary or the, you know, the main caregiver. And so people get upset when they hear that, but it's a choice that that families make all across the world.
mhm.
Like,
Right.
I didn't make this decision on my own, right? My
Mhm.
husband and I had multiple conversations before I transitioned into becoming a stay-at-home mom, a full-time stay-at-home mom. And so these are decisions that couples are making together. And so it's kind of a fairy tale to think that, you know, if you're single and you don't know understand the dynamics of the marriage or of marriage, that sounds ridiculous to you. Like, oh, I'm going to put my career on hold to take care of kids. But trust me, I've heard a lot of women talk about this, and this was my exact experience. I didn't want to come back to YouTube. I didn't want to come back to podcasting. I thought I wanted to just be with my daughter full time, and that's what I did for 4 or 5 months. I
Right.
just devoted my whole life to caring for her, and
Baby, yeah.
I was like, this is the best. Who would want to go back? And now, and
Sometimes it's rough to go back. Yeah.
yes. Yes. And I feel for the women that do have to go back so quickly, because I also talk to women that, you know, it breaks their heart sending their child to daycare at 6 months, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes earlier
Yeah.
than that. But
Yeah.
some families, they have to, and I
Right.
completely understand that.
Right.
Right. So that's another lie. Children and family and a husband is bondage, is only going to
Right.
slow you down. And then the last one that I see, and this is what's happening with a lot of our youth right now, is this sexual promiscuity. This idea that, you know, you can have sex with whoever you want with no consequences, with
Mm,
no, you know, impairments for the rest of your life. Like, it's
right.
never going to affect you in the future. And that's a complete lie. Like,
Right.
when I look at young women now teasing their OnlyFans at 17,
Ugh.
and that's what they look forward to the day that they
Wow.
can like hit the button for their OnlyFans at 18, that breaks my heart, because
Mm,
that's what we're pushing in society, this sexualization of youth, to the point
right.
where by the time that they're in their early 20s, they have body counts of like 100, 150.
Sad.
And it's so sad because
Yeah.
what it does is it decreases that pair bonding that you're eventually going to have with, the husband that you
Want to build your
choose.
life with, yeah.
And that, and it goes both ways for men too, but
Right.
the
Well, the
threshold is
heart,
much
right.
bigger.
And the heart is so much deeper with women,
Yes.
and they're
And
always denying. They're denying,
yes.
denying, denying that it doesn't matter. But I, at the end of the day, everybody wants a ring and a man that would love and care for them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are exceptions and there are situations that are different,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody just wants to have a cheating man or a cheating woman that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that gets old really quick.
Yeah, it
So,
does. And I see these women that like are shells of themselves because
uh,
they bought in so hard to this idea of sexual liberation and doing whatever I want. And
right,
that's their idea of feminism. Their idea of feminism is, as a woman, I can do whatever I want without society's constraints.
right.
I've
With
heard
no
that as a
dependence, with no connection,
definition.
with no
Yes.
emotion.
And
Wow,
you
it's
know,
impossible.
it's absolutely it's not only just impossible, it's delusional because
Mhm.
your brain chemistry changes. It's like you can see brain scans of this. And, it's sad to me. And so many women are bought into this sexual liberation that they can do whatever they want with their bodies. And, it's all about autonomy and whatever. And, I've been
Mhm.
getting a lot of flack on YouTube recently because I I encourage women in marriages, wives, to not deny their husbands. But on the other hand, that's the thing that's getting me in trouble, right? You would think it's not very controversial to say to women, like, you shouldn't deny your husbands in marriage to the point where they are so sexually starved, right? In these sexless marriages. But on the flip side, these women that are in these, in the world, in the marketplace, in the dating marketplace, they're shouting their body count numbers on the
Right.
internet. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Well,
Um,
you had a change of heart, a change of mind,
yes.
a whole transformation that took you to the road now where you are at home,
Yes.
married, mama, homemaker, and fully enjoying it. Let's talk about your transformation. So
Yeah.
we know what's out there now. We know that women have bought into this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like you, I think a lot of women are coming out of the fog and going,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe I need to look at myself. Maybe I need
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get my thoughts together a little bit more about what my life really looks like and what I'm denying. What was
Yeah.
your transformation like?
Yeah, so my transformation happened over time, and I tell people it didn't happen like that. It didn't happen overnight. It happened with a slew of different events. One of them was my family member telling me that I was a miserable person at Christmas time, and then my whole family agreeing to it all at the same time. I felt like I
Oh
was
boy.
being punked. Um, and that was one of the wake up calls. Then I was reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and was
Highly
learning.
recommend that. Do you
Yes,
highly recommend
highly,
that?
highly, highly recommend that. And with that, I was learning how to take accountability. Oh, I'm not the victim.
Yeah.
I was lying to
Me too.
myself all the time. And I was coping so hard, so hard at the time. And then I also stopped drinking. I stopped going out. I stopped associating myself with these people, these women that were I felt were leeching off of me. I felt
Mm,
drained every time I hung out with these people. And when I stopped drinking alcohol, I could see clearly now. I could
mhm.
understand, oh no, I don't feel good when I hang out with them. That's why I drink more when I hang out with
Right.
them. The pieces starting to go
Come
together.
together. And
And
then
then,
this incredible man walks into your life.
yes, yes,
That helped, right?
yes. Oh my gosh. When I met my husband, it was, I will say, it was love at first sight for him. He literally
Aw,
turned to his best friend and said, "I'm going to marry that woman." And he's like,
I love
"You
it.
just met her 2.2 seconds ago. How could you know that?" He's like, "Just watch." And yes, we are married. And
I love it.
I and it's crazy because, we went to St. Augustine yesterday. Had a family day, and we are so happy, and it's so much. I tell people, I'm like, intimacy grows over time. Like, we were infatuated with each other when we
Yeah.
first met, right? The day we met, it was at an event. I was meeting a client for a possible business. He was meeting the same person after my meeting was done, and we came together, and there was an event that night. He invited me to the event, and then from the next day forward, we were inseparable. It was
Inseparable.
just
I
like,
saw you say, I heard you say that in your podcast. That was it. You knew that this was going to be your person. You knew that life
yes,
was going to look different. He knew that too. And
yes,
I also, know that you went through counseling. You kind of did premarital
yes,
counseling, which you highly suggest. You kind of worked through a lot of who you were, who he
yes.
was,
A
and
lot of
what life was going
trauma.
to. Right. And you talked about the importance of that. So that is something I know that you suggest, but I do kind of want to now
Yes.
have you talk a little bit to the women that are listening now. I'd love
Mm,
to get some advice as we wrap this up, Rebecca. What do you say to the single women now that could be
mhm,
listening, maybe a mom that's sharing this with her 20-year-old daughter,
mhm.
um, about the culture and the lies that the
Yes.
culture is telling them? What do you say to the single young women of your
Mhm.
generation that are in their 20s right now?
Yeah, I would say you can focus on your career. You can do all of these things. I'm not saying that getting your education is bad. I'm not saying that working on your career is a bad thing. I think that women should, right? However, we cannot neglect your biology. You cannot
Mm.
neglect that eventual desire to want to have a husband, right? So we need to start investing the same effort and energy that you put into your career. You need to take some of that and start, working on yourself. If that is, going to the gym, if that is become the best version of yourself for
Mhm.
the man that you want to marry, right?
Mhm.
And usually people, like, I met my husband at a work event.
Right.
So it
You
is
never
like,
know.
you never know. You never know.
Right.
And I also say we have to, as women, tap into our feminine energy again. That
Ah.
softness. A lot of women that are in these very career focused, career minded states, they are
They lose
more,
that.
yeah, they're more tuned into their masculinity. So we need to start tuning the frequency to our
Very good
femininity,
advice.
and that softness will welcome that male attraction to you.
Mhm.
Because if you are so hard and your exterior is always hard and you can't trust anyone,
Mm.
you're just going to be a repellent, right?
Right.
You're going to repel all these men away from you.
Right.
And then you're going to get to your early to mid 30s and end up like many women. That is not my heart for young women. That is not my heart for any woman.
Right.
So,
And
and
there is such a difference too between being a feminist and being feminine. I think that's kind of where
yes,
you're going with
yes,
this, is that you adopt the feminist ideology, but you
yes,
actually abandon being feminine, the
yes,
gifts and talents that you have as a woman. So
yes.
it's a crazy mix in your brain. No wonder why
Yes.
it's daunting.
Yeah. And the one thing I always say too is like, we need to, as women, we need to start taking accountability for our actions. We are not the victims of our life. We are not the victims. We are the victors in our story. So
That's
we
right.
need to start acting that way. And if we continuously say that we're the victim, if we're continuously being told that or surrounding ourselves with that, that's just going to continue to lead you down the wrong
The
path.
wrong path,
We
yeah.
need to surround ourselves with people. Like, if you eventually want to get married, the best advice I have for you is find a wife, find someone who has been married for a very long time, and sit and
Let them mentor
literally
you.
let them
Yes.
mentor you. Sit down with them for coffees, or say, hey, can I come over and I'll help you with the household chores, or can you help me cook? Can I like come to your home or come to my home? And
Right.
and find these women in your
Yeah.
community, find these women that you look up to, right?
Yeah.
When I was in my entrepreneurial phase, I was seeking out mentors that have been in business for a long time, that have built multi-million,
You're so
billion
true.
dollar industries. Why can't we apply that for things that we want in our
Right.
personal life, right?
Right.
If I want to be married and I want a healthy marriage, I need to know what that looks like. And if your immediate direct family isn't that example for you, you need to
Right.
search that out in other ways and be creative,
Right.
right? Um,
You're right.
and
And you're
also
right. A lot of
YouTube is a
times you
great,
YouTube's great. Speaking of
yeah,
YouTube, let's talk about your channel, and what advice you're giving to the moms and to this generation. Your
yeah,
YouTube channel just like took off, right?
yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like, when people, I think people like to put other people in boxes. Okay. So when people say, oh, you're not a real true stay-at-home mom, you do YouTube.
Oh.
I do YouTube very part-time. Okay. I take
A
you
great YouTube channel, by the
as
way. I'm looking
as
at it right now. I just love all the topics that you have.
the producer of this show, Pam,
Yeah,
I was like, Pam, listen, I can only do these certain days. Okay. And these
right.
certain windows of time is when I actually can shoot and record
I love
and
these
do
times.
interviews, because when I'm doing YouTube, when I have that hour and a half of my daughter's sleep window, I am fully into my videos. I'm editing, I'm doing that stuff, right? When she's awake or when my family is home, I am
Right,
mom, I am wifey, I am cooking dinner. I'm not thinking about YouTube content creation,
right.
any of that. I am full blown in mom mode. So
Yeah,
I think as moms, like, now we live in 2023. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, right? If you
yeah.
want to transition into that, you have to start changing your lifestyle. You have to start making little sacrifices, right? Maybe it's not buying stuff on Amazon every day. That was something that I
Oh,
was doing.
yeah.
Maybe it's not going to Starbucks
Oh,
3 to 5 times a week, right?
right,
um, we need to start being more frugal with our time,
right.
our
Well, life changes, right?
finances.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Um, and finding work in the home,
Mhm.
finding things that you can do from your computer.
I mean, think about the opportunities all of us have now, right? It used to be you used to have to leave the house to work. You don't
Yes.
have to do that anymore. I did a lot of freelance work myself too, but look at you. Look at what God has done. And look at
Yes.
this. I don't even know
Yes.
how many followers you have on your YouTube channel, but how do
Almost a
people
hundred
find
thousand.
oh, just 100,000. Can you tell us about the YouTube? How do they find you on YouTube, Rebecca, so they
Ye-
can listen to some of these? I can't even go through the videos because the topics are like killer. Uh,
Thanks.
what's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's just my name, Rebecca Barrett. I think if you just click Rebecca Barrett, I'm one of the first ones to pop up. I'm almost at 100,000 subscribers. It's
Love it.
crazy to me. It's crazy because I didn't think that that would be my life. I was just
Yeah.
making videos because I wanted to, and my husband encouraged me to do it. And he still encourages me to do it all the time. He's like, you need, like, you love it. That's a part of your purpose too. And like, you should do that, you know? And so,
You've got a lot to offer.
you can find me there. Sometimes I get in trouble on YouTube. Sometimes I get in trouble on Instagram. And I
Oh,
have some hot takes. So if you have
yeah, you
a
sure
little
do.
thick skin,
Yeah.
come
And you
over.
talking about toxic feminism and how it sold the
Yes.
bill of goods to young women and how you have you're pulling back the curtain and
Yes.
exposing just talk about all of those challenges and
Hmm.
even the challenges that you face and being a wife
Yes.
and being in a relationship, all these things. People are going crazy over your videos, and here's what's the truth: they're amazing. I mean, you're
Thank
really
you.
taking on the tough topics in a culture that just doesn't really want to talk about these things.
Hmm.
And I appreciate it that you
Thanks.
are so real. You're real.
I
You're so real.
Well, and like you said, it's about playing into your gifts, right? One
Yep.
of my gifts is this. Like, I don't know how I do it. It's just, I have that ability. You have that ability. That might not be your gift, right? You got to
Right.
find and tap into what you love to do. If it's
Mm-hmm.
creating, if it's, DIYing, if it's thrifting, if it's whatever it is, you just got to find that and double down. And for some reason, God gave me this ability to connect
Love it.
with people through a camera. And I'm super grateful. And I'm grateful that I do have this platform that women, it's hard sometimes because I get a lot of hate. And I get a lot of hate, a lot. But I get those messages from women that says, thank you for helping me through this because I was
Yeah.
going through the same exact thing, or you have my story. We have the same exact story. Thank you so much for helping me through this or
Yeah.
sharing your story. And that's what
Yeah.
it's all about.
That is.
And and hopefully this podcast can do that and shed some light. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say it's for women who want to see the other side, right? It's
Right.
not like if you are completely content, you never want to get married, you never want to have children, or you want to focus on your career, do that.
Right.
Do that, but understand that everything in life has consequences, whether that's good or bad. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the anchoring themes of my YouTube channel and what I say on social media is that we have the ability to choose. We have the ability. It's in our control, right? In some capacity.
Right.
God's
Right.
in control.
God's in control, but yeah, but
But in
we
these little things
right.
that we do, these decisions that we take, we can either choose to make decisions based off of our flesh and what we desire in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or we can think with some foresight and some longevity and say, if I
Right.
make this decision today, how is this going to affect me in the
What is
long
life
term?
looking like? Right.
What it right? And if we can start as women thinking about these long-term decisions that we're taking and what we're doing in the immediate right now and how that plays into the future, I think the decisions that we make will be a lot different
Right.
than the decisions that we're making right now,
And I think
Um,
this is exactly how I want to close this podcast with you. On that note, think about where we're going. Think
mhm,
about your gifts, your talent, who you are, your relationships, the opportunity of having a child and a family.
mhm,
Think about that. Don't deny it. Think about
mhm.
it and see what God has in store. You may
Yes.
have a man walk right into your business and say, I'm going to marry you. Now that may not happen all across the board,
No.
but we just are always looking to see what God has for us. And
Mhm,
the other thing is for the moms that are listening, you may have a daughter that's, 15, 16, 17,
mhm,
18, 19, 20 in her 20s. This podcast is perfect for them
mhm.
because this is what they're being told. If you're a
Yes.
mom and you're in a situation and you're battling with home and career, this is perfect for you. Go to
Mhm.
Rebecca's YouTube page and think about it, pray about it, see what God has in store for you, just like
Yeah.
Rebecca did. I'm always so encouraged to see young women like Rebecca speaking the truth, using their voice, and what a powerful platform she has there on YouTube. Again, please check her out. All right. Well, speaking of platforms, I do want to mention visit our website, momsforamerica.us. Check out all of our amazing resources, events, and programs there. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Rumble. Check us out on BitChute as well. All of our social media platforms. We really are here to help you, moms. I mention this every week that we have our cottage meetings, which is our 12 lessons that truly inspire you on the principles of liberty, how you could teach them in your home and in your community. That's our signature program. This program, along with many of our other programs, will help you impact your family in a very powerful way. We also have the Liberty Kids Club, which is brand new, which is a child-friendly version of the cottage meetings. We have our Healing of America series, which educates you on what's happening in America all across the country. We say this every week, right? It's parental rights to public policy. That's what we have here at Moms for America. It's from the kitchen table to Congress. We have it all. We also want to invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter when you're on our website there. This will help you get educated on the issues that relate to you as a mom and engage with other moms all across the country. Our network is over 1 million moms right now. Also, if you have an idea for our podcast, I would love to hear from you. Would you please email me at podcast@momsforamerica.net. Love to get your suggestions and input and any guests that you'd like me to chat with. We say this every week that liberty begins at home and that moms, you are truly the heartbeat of America. That's why this movement is so powerful. It's because of moms like you, the defenders of the families, the teachers of the children, the warriors that fight for our faith, protect our parental rights, and champion our constitutional freedoms. That's you, moms. Again, please like and subscribe to this podcast with your friends. I look forward to joining you next week for another inspiring discussion with moms just like you. We so appreciate you, moms. Thanks for being a part of Moms for America. And as always, let's keep changing our world one home at a time. Talk to you soon.